Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel and very excited to talk to you about all of the Seeker cards that have been revealed for the core set, 2026 core set for Arkham Horror, the card game. We have basically the entirety, I think, of the Seeker cards. We have a few more cards too that will be talked about at the end. But this is the first 2 weeks of the preview season. We got every single Seeker card, most of them spoiled by different content creators, including me, and a few things by the Fantasy Flight Games crew. So let's talk about everything because we have a better sense of what the design is going forward in this more new limited chapter 2 environment. So let's go ahead and look at the newest thing, which is Joe Diamond. Today we got Joe Diamond and his full front side, his ability. Last week they told us that it was deck building was 0 to 5 Seeker, 0 to Guardian, just like the old Joe. And Joe Diamond is basically one of my favorite investigators from the first part of this game. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him going forward. And so far, he's very, very, generic. And that's okay for a core set. So we're looking at 2 willpower, 4 intellect, 4 combat, and 2 agility, exactly the same as old Joe. New ability, though, reaction after you successfully investigate, draw 1 card, limit once per round, and then an Elder Sign effect of +1 if you succeed, draw 1 card, and gain 1 resource. 7 health, 7 sanity. Difference there was that the old Joe had 8 health, 6 sanity, and his ability about the hunch deck and getting some resource generation off of that is completely gone, of course. So this is just a pretty standard investigator ability, I would say. I'm not too excited by it, but I don't need to be excited by the abilities in a core set investigator. Expansions, yeah, like try something new. But even in the very last expansion we got with Lucius Galloway, literally his ability was just get a clue after you succeed by 2 or more while evading. Pretty simple. I think this is just the ability on Harvey's signature card, which is really nice. So Joe's gonna be drawing a lot of cards with that Elder Sign. Maybe the Elder Signs are all gonna do something and not just be +1 million. So I'm looking forward to seeing that for all the new investigators too. Front side ability is what it is. It's gonna be good. It's just not particularly something you can build around or want to build around. You'll just get value for playing the game, and core set seems like a good spot for that. All right, let's check out what his other stuff is. So he also came, of course, with signature cards. So we're looking at Detective's Intuition, his signature event. And note that probably all of the signature cards are class coded now. They used to be neutral, I suppose. They don't have a level, but it's a Seeker card now. And then his weakness over there is Dead Ends. Both events, I think that's kind of an interesting change. They did this with the starter decks, so Harvey, Winifred, etc. They also had classes for their signature cards, and maybe we're just getting that going forward. Maybe just it's going to be the core set. Who knows? All right, a bunch of icons, but otherwise it's a 0 cost event that is gain 2 resources and heal 1 damage or 1 horror. Reaction after you draw Detective's Intuition during your turn, reveal it, and draw 2 additional cards. That's pretty cool, right? You pick this up, and whether it's from a draw from his ability or something else, you get to draw 2 more things, keep this in your hand, still have to spend the action to play this, get the resources, and do a heal. I think that's fine. You don't always need to play this. I wonder, man. I mean, in the old chapter 1, I look at this and say, what a cool Farsight target. Here, I don't know. Maybe we'll get something like that. Maybe we won't. And then Dead Ends, his weakness, costs 5 and sits in your hand. Forced, when you search your deck and Dead Ends is among the search cards, draw it, cancel effects of the search, and shuffle your deck. Okay, so if you're using the search effects like Mysterious Grimoire, which I previewed on this channel earlier, then you don't get to pick up the card you were looking for. Instead, you get this, shuffle your deck. Forced, when the game ends or you are eliminated, if this card is in your hand, you earn 2 fewer experience. Remember that events have to be played, so you still need to spend your 5 resources in an action to get rid of this. If you play it prematurely, let's say, and you reshuffle your deck and get it back, that's really bad. So I wonder with the extra card draw that Joe is doing, you probably just want this to eat up a slot in your hand for the rest of your game. It's kind of similar actually to his old weakness where that require you to play it at one point when it popped up. It cost you basically 2 resources, but if you didn't do it then you earn 2 fewer experience, just like this. I mean, this is just like a 5 resource tax, and if you do it at the end of the game, then you find yourself in action, and the resources you probably are sitting on enough by then for it to be fine. But otherwise, it's just going to be eating up a slot in your hand. It can't be discarded through any other means other than a random discard. If there's some effect that says randomly discard a card from your hand, then you can get rid of it, assuming they haven't changed the rules on that. The forced effect that's on the top, though, this is the one where if you search, then you got to pick this up instead, is cool thematically, right? It's really a dead end for your search as a private investigator, but it's not something that I think is ever going to happen, right? Like you just don't ever do a search if this is in your deck still. You can get away with that because he has no ability like Mandy Thompson in Chapter 1 did that wants you to do searches. In fact, only card is Mysterious Grimoire that will let you search that we've seen so far. Granted, we've not seen any of the Guardian cards, so maybe that will change. But so far, this just feels like a weakness that's just okay. It's not too bad. If we go back to his main card here, just to sort of give some preliminary thoughts about this guy. Again, generic seems good. You can fill out the deck with stuff that is interesting, right? I think that's part of the fun of having an 0502 investigator and a ability that's pretty generic is you can kind of do whatever you want. And Joe says, I can fight and I can investigate. I probably should investigate at least a little bit. So probably good in solo. I think Joe is always a good solo investigator, especially with a larger card pool. But maybe right from the get-go, he's going to be a good choice for solo. I don't know what else he's doing though, right? We'll have to look at the rest of the cards that have come in the box for Seeker for a second. But my initial take is he's drawing a bunch of cards and not sure what he's doing with them other than just getting closer to the investigate tools that we've seen. There's not any other synergy with just drawing stuff other than draw cards good. Not a bad thing, but remember that Seeker's drawing cards in Chapter 1 got a bit absurd and remains to be seen. I'm not going to make any judgments yet how much they have cooled Seeker's jets on drawing way too fast through their deck. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the rest of the cards. I think this is just in order. So we're getting to the first cards in Seeker, number 30, Dorothy Simmons. You've probably heard about her as being the new Dr. Milan Christopher. And yeah, she's basically a worse version of him, but that is a good thing for the game because that guy was a bit too good. I really, really like how her soak is 1/1. I think going forward that good allies, especially at level 0, should be a bit more than just taking up the ally slot and maybe you can assign some damage to them, but a bit more precarious, right? That they're there to help you, but you can't just let them hog the slot for the entire game. Otherwise, you don't need to run very many allies and you just find the one you want and then you're good to go. She's going to be fine. The investigate by exactly 1 or 3 is a science archetype, the precision archetype that I have really enjoyed in the past. But at least in Seeker, there's no support for this. There's no way for you to get to succeed by exactly 1 or 3 after you pull the token. In Chapter 1 stuff, which technically are still in current probably, things like steady-handed artistic inspiration lets you adjust how much you succeed by. This card just is randomly, sometimes you'll get a resource. Probably once a turn, who knows? Couple this with Joe, getting an extra resource and a card When you successfully investigate, that's really good. Fantastic economy for doing whatever you need to do. And maybe the thing you want to do is play this expensive hand slot item, Fingerprint Kit. This is a straight up reprint from the old Circle Undone. The only difference is just the templating. It now tells you, of course, you're using investigating a tool, so you're going to use your intellect for that. So nothing special there. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I think it's just a good core set card to have to get a little bit more tempo on the game. Just put this down, a good chance of getting 2 clues. Great. Maybe this is something Joe can pay for. Old Joe cared about tools because he could have many tools in play with his Colt 1911s, I believe. New Joe is just a card, just like any other card. Let's keep going. Something interesting to talk about. While we just had a straight up reprint in Fingerprint Kit, this laboratory assistant is new in 2 ways. One, she has a different icon. The skill icon on the side is a willpower icon. The old one had an intellect icon. I think that is fine. I don't know how much this matters. Maybe in their testing they said people are just committing too many intellect icons to things and let's switch it up a bit. Okay. And then the other difference is, so her ability, maximum hand size increased by 2. Good core set ability. Love it. This was originally in Harvey and originally in Dunwich. Anyway, after you play Laboratory Assistant, draw 2 cards. Old one said, after Lab Assistant enters play, draw 2 cards. So for whatever reason, they decided to change this ability so it's no longer put into play abilities will trigger it. Now you have to play. It doesn't have to be play action, but you have to be instructed to play the card in order to get the 2 cards. I still don't know why. I think a near print like this is interesting because I think it's okay for the designers to say, we don't like some particular interactions, or maybe they thought it was too confusing, although that one is not that confusing. They just are changing things a bit. And I haven't seen a card yet that says, okay, here's the reason why. We might in the core set, we might not. I think this print here also confirms what we all suspected, which is that the starter investigators from before, Harvey, Winifred, Nathaniel Cho, they're gone. We're getting new starter investigators because she was printed in Harvey Walters. It suggests that they're not going to have that in multiple places anymore. I think we get some totally new stuff. I mean, it makes sense too with Joe having kind of Harvey's ability that Harvey's gone. Okay. So I don't know how I feel about that. I don't love that they're telling us that the old stuff can coexist with the new stuff. The rules are you can only pick one version of Lab Assistant in your deck. You can't have one of each. But it's a little bit like they're having their cake and eating it too. I want them to move forward. I love for them to make changes that they feel like they should change. At the same time, they can't tell people to not play their old cards. That's just a decision that they've made. They can't just say this is a new game and it's very similar to the old game, but it's a new game. But it feels like it's a new game, but not too new, right? Okay, local map. I've talked about this one a bit on the first reveal a few weeks ago. This one allows you to investigate a revealed connecting location. If you succeed, exhaust this thing to move to that location, giving you +1. So it's like the fingerprint kit, except for you don't get the extra clue, you get an extra movement. So maybe that's a solo friendly card where fingerprint kit is more of a multiplayer card. I think that's neat. Starting to see a lot of hand slot items though. Speaking of, both of these were in the original. One big question people are thinking about is, why is magnifying glass a complete reprint? Wasn't this card just a bit insane? I can run 2 of these in Joe now and get my successful investigate every time. Why am I spending money and actions on things like fingerprint kit or local map? I don't know. I mean, I think fingerprint kit is strong. I really like that card, but it's very clear that if all you're trying to do is pass investigation tests, this is probably going to get you there, and maybe it'll get you those extra clues over time. So I kind of wish this card had been changed a bit, maybe got rid of fast. maybe just dump it in the past entirely. But thematically, how do you not have magnifying glass in this game, right? I think that's good. What we don't have, I can tell you that right now, is that there's no level 1 version. The level 1 version in the core costs 0. It let you return to your hand. It was a good card. It really was. This one is also very good. I think people stopped playing Magnifying Glass when they got bored of it, but it's still incredibly good. I think Sharp Rhetoric is also fantastic. The rate of spending one resource for potentially +2 is really good. And I am a little bit wondering if the difficulty of Shrouds is going to be a bit higher than it was in the core set before. Because this seems like you can do it pretty well to get +2 when playing this card down. I think Joe's got the economy to make this work. I don't know. We'll see. That said, they need to make the core set beginner friendly. And all of this stuff so far is great. I would play all of these cards. In the original core set, there was a lot of stuff you're like, I don't know. I don't know if we're actually going to play this because it's not helping me win the game. All of these things seem to be a lesson learned from the chapter 1 stuff that we don't need bad cards in the core. We don't need them. Gather Intel. This is an insight, which would have been at home in old Joe's Hunch deck. I guess you can still play it there if you'd like. This is a fast draw 2. So we saw fast magnifying glass, fast draw 2 cards when an enemy enters your location. It's extremely nice, but it's not on the busted end of the drawing 3 cards for no resources and just being fast, right? This is, I think, fine because you can't just do it whenever you want. So you're gated a bit in the fast cycling by when enemies enter your location. You don't have a whole lot of control on that. But I'm seeing a lot of drawing cards. I'm seeing it on Joe's ability. I'm seeing it here. You're going to see it on a few more cards. We've been told that Seekers are supposed to draw cards, and that's good. But how much is too good? Through the Cracks is an insight trick for helping Joe deal with enemies. We haven't seen anything in the Seeker class so far that helps manage enemies. And Joe with 2 agility is not the guy to do it. This is a card that lets you evade but get a boost for each clue you have, maximum of +3. If you succeed, you may disengage from each enemy engaged with you and move to a revealed connecting location. First take on this was, I don't think it's good. I think this is an expensive event, 3 cost, for dealing with 1 enemy or maybe 2 or 3. That part's like, okay, but you can do other things to get rid of enemies. And pretty much in Joe, it should be to fight them. Assuming that we get something like manual dexterity back, that seems for the cost just better, right? The free move is cool. Love the free move. The three resources in the card, not so sure. This is replacing a couple cards. The original core had Mind Over Matter, a fast card that let you use your intellect in place of either agility and combat for the rest of the round, which was really actually quite strong. I don't think people played it as much because they're not playing Seekers to do that sort of thing. But that's no longer here. I've got a plan, which was in Dunwich, looked like this because you got a scaling based on clues to actually fight and deal damage to an enemy. That card's a little bit much, I think, when it hit. Like if you had a lot of clues and you had the resources for it, it was kind of absurd what Seekers could do. It was also not a good solution if you didn't have clues. This has the same problem. If you don't have clues, then ouch. It's kind of burning a card slot in your hand. So I don't know about this one. I think it's probably not worth your time, but here it is. Rounding things out, these are 2 repeats from the original core. Working a hunch fast, discover a clue. 2 resources. Very good in low player counts. Maybe with all the card draw that we still have, this is quite good. It's funny though, because you compare it to deduction, which is more or less the same idea, but it doesn't cost you any resources. Granted, working a hunch works on things that are hard to investigate or impossible to investigate. Deduction, you're always going to get value out of it. So welcome back, Daisy. You're on a piece of art. Let's look at the XP cards. Mysterious Grimoire, I've talked about on this channel. It is the only way to search. So Joe's weakness could only happen, well, the forcibly entering your hand thing, if you are playing Mysterious Grimoire. So the question is, do you just not play this in Joe? Is this for someone else? And probably that's the case. I mean, think about how many things are in his hand slots already. Do you really need to spend 2 XP and 3 resources to put this thing down just to draw some cards? He's drawing an extra card every round anyway. So probably not a good Joe card, but I bet that whoever is our off-class Seeker is going to like this. So put a pin in that. Hey, it's upgraded through the cracks. I said the level 0 one was pretty bad. This one gives you an absurd bonus. You can get up to +6 if you have 3 clues. So is that better? For 2 XP, 2 resources is moving away from a bunch of enemies good. I didn't say this the first time, but the other take I have on this card, especially level 0, is its survival instinct. That was a level 0 survivor skill in the core set that did the same thing. Granted, in Survivor, it was easier to pull off the evade, but it didn't cost anything. It was a skill. And didn't hear anyone, banging down the door playing that card. So I still think this is not great. The upgraded survival instinct was way better because it evaded all the enemies. This one still, you just disengage and move. And if they're all hunters, they're still going to go after you if you don't have more actions to get away from them. So this card's not for me. I think you could do some cool things in Legacy if you do some event synergy. So this still opens the door for a Chuck Fergus type of card, something that cares about insights or tricks. Otherwise, I think it's okay, but it's not. I think you just have to find a different solution for enemies. But do I feel like that's okay for Seekers, that they're not really good at this? This is the problem, right? For something you're not good at, do you just, you know, bite the bullet and say, I'll play the bad card because I have no other solutions? Or do you say, not my problem, someone else figure this out? If you're playing solo, you kind of have to have something like this because what else are you going to do? For Joe, supposedly the Guardian stuff should take care of it, but maybe you need to run this for someone else because it is again level 2. I assume we'll get an off-class Seeker, so we'll see. Studious, we've talked about. I spoiled the card. Very, very good. For Joe, I wonder if it's less good. I mean, look. Opening hand, opening mulligan, very, very important. But with the extra card draw already on tap, does this actually do anything for him? Yes, it does something for him. Is it a priority? If you have nothing else to pay experience into, I suppose it's something you can do. Um, but I expect the guy to be drawing a lot of cards. Speaking of unbridled knowledge, 5 XP event. Haven't seen one of those. We didn't get any 5 XP cards in the original core. Is that correct? Not in Seeker. Anyway, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Not search, reveal. 8 cards instead if you control 2 or more clues. I think that's really neat. Looking at 8 cards is a lot. Draw 3 of them and place the rest of those cards on top and or bottom of your deck in any order. I love this card. I think this is a very fun card to play. Is it worth 5 XP and a resource in the new environment? Maybe so. I think this is a much healthier way of drawing cards and getting the right stuff in order on top of your deck than the blanket fast draw 3, fast draw 3, fast draw 3. This is going to cost you, right? It's expensive, but I think it sets up some neat combos if you can pull that off. So cool. I like this card. Okay. I said this before, but it looks like there's a lot of card draw, and I don't know what he's drawing. Okay, you get closer to your 1 copy or 2 copies of deduction. You get closer to your 2 copies of working a hunch, I guess. But I don't see anything like splashy here. I'm not saying that in the core set they need some busted card here to be looking for. But if you look at most decks in Chapter 1, there's usually something that makes the deck worth playing towards. Um, and you get into play, and then you say, okay, now we can actually do the thing, and you feel safe. Not entirely safe, but you feel like you've gotten to the point where now your deck actually can start having a little bit more punch to it. For me, when I played Joe most recently, solo Edge of the Earth, that card was Anti-Kit Throw. Probably the same with Monterey Jack too, by the way. And once that was in play and it was a consistent way of drawing cards, getting resources, discovering clues, um, finding some other soak, I guess, is another part of this. The game's really fun. I'm not saying the game isn't fun if you don't have that something to build towards, but what are we building towards in this deck with the Seeker cards? The level 0 cards, like Fingerprint Kit? I don't think so. This just feels like all you're doing is churning through the deck for something, for the sake of doing it. Remains to be seen because we just don't have the quantity of skill cards either that we used to. There's only one skill card that we've seen. We'll see a few more. Here's one more at least, anyways. Perception, but I just don't see a purpose for playing through the deck rather than just playing what you have in your hand right now. Guardian could change that. Guardian does have some splashy effects. Getting a dynamite or something is potentially a game changer. Okay. So two neutral cards that feel very secret. We've got the hand crank flashlight. Very weird art, I think. It's fine, but it's a replacement for the original flashlight, which cost two. This thing, instead of having supplies, has an ability for you to essentially decide, okay, now is the round where we get all the clues. But normally, without spending uses, you investigate, get +1 for the test. By the way, there's like a space missing in there. I don't like it. The one and then the intellect icon are too close. If you succeed, you may discard a hand crank flashlight for your location to get -1 shroud until the end of the round. Okay, original flashlight was -2 shroud every time you used it, which was very, very strong. They've now changed that to you get +1 forever until you want to make the whole location get -1 for everyone who goes after you as well. The rest of your turn, everyone else. That is pretty good, and this is a good card. Like this is an investigation tool that anyone could consider. Maybe even the Seekers, who in Chapter 1 Flashlight you didn't take. You could, but it really wasn't worth it. There were better choices. And Flashlight was basically for difficulty reduction or low intellect investigators. This, I think, you could just slot into Joe and be happy about that. Perception is a reprint with a new card frame, but an important difference that I just want to touch on before we're done with our video here, which is if this test is successful, the performing investigator draws one card. Old text was, if this test is successful, draw one card. And that was the person who committed the card draws one card. Oh, okay. I talked to one of my friends about this just to be out of the Arkham community, just said, here is the change. What do you think? And her response was, ugh, but I wanted to draw the card. So what this means is if you commit the card to someone else, they draw the card and you're out one card from your hand. Sure, maybe that's a good thing for the health of the game because now the Seekers aren't drawing quite as quickly. If this is true for the other three skills, Guts, Spanial Dexterity, Overpower, then it's true for everyone. Okay. Part of the reason why I commit things to other people is because I want them to pass the test. Great. That's what those two skill icons are for. Part of why I'm doing it is also so if I'm going to keep doing that, so I get a replacement card so I can then help them out or myself in the future. But to just, I hate to say just get rid of, but to discard a card for your hand and not get a replacement is not going to make me want to commit as much. As much as I want other people to pass tests, I have to think about the stability of my own board, my own deck. And just getting rid of a card might not be worth it, especially if I think they're going to pass the test, right? If they don't need the help as much, like they're up 2 already, getting them to +4 might not be worth it. Just some thoughts there. Now, I do like that the designers probably realized that this is confusing. The original text, people always asked me, who gets to draw the card? Is it me or the person who committed the card? It wasn't super clear. What they went with was the performing investigator draws a card, and now it's clear. It's just perhaps not the thing that I want. Maybe in the new environment that changes. Maybe there's more card draw, like Joe is just overflowing with cards, and this is okay. But my initial take on this is even just thinking back to Carson again, a chapter 1 investigator. I can't help it but compare. He has to refill his hand, and if he's committing cards to other people, how is he supposed to refill his hand, right? The whole point of using these neutral skills was to help draw through his deck so he could then have more fodder for committed cards. Min, I think, is a similar case, although Eureka has the same text on it. So I don't know. Again, there's a bit of a power level decrease here that's going on, and that's ultimately good. I'm actually in favor of that. They might have seen, that Mark deck that commits every basic skill and then just draws like crazy. So maybe they needed to do this, maybe, but I fear that it's going to prevent people from supporting each other when that was not the intent. Note that nothing we've seen so far as far as card draw in Joe's kit or any of those cards helps other people draw. This is the only thing that does. And maybe that is reasonable, and maybe we'll get other kinds of support in future sets. All right, well, it is 30 minutes, so I think that's enough for us to have talked about these cards. It's really interesting. I have to reserve judgment for Joe, I think, until we see the Guardian cards too. But so far, it feels pretty like he's good. The cards are all good. They're not great. The design seems a little flat, neutral, perhaps. Waiting to see something exciting. But you know what? They started with the Seeker class for revealing cards and Joe for this set for good reason. I think these are all easy to understand and easy to play without being too busted. I think we're going to find out, of course, but I think it's just a good time with this guy. I'm a little sad because the old Joe is very fun and very interesting, and now he's turned into something a bit more generic, who's going to be good. But we need to see more cards to push him over the edge to be, here's a highlight of why to play him. And not just because he's a secret and he can do good things, but what's the fun interaction? Because the hunch deck was so fun. There's nothing crazy here. So that means that your card pool, and then it'll expand as the game gets bigger and we get new starter decks, are going to have to fill in all those gaps. We haven't seen it yet, in my opinion. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.